Okay, we call it everyone. Welcome councillors and co-optees to this planning committee meeting, and welcome to Jill Gray, our acting town clerk, who will be clerk of this meeting. So the agenda for tonight is, first of all, Chair's opening remarks. I have no opening remarks. Second item is apologies for absence received.
Yes, so you have apologies for Councillor Graham and the volunteer tree warden and Councillor Heaven.
Okay. Thank you. 3 is declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda. Any interest to declare? No, nothing. Thank you. Item 4 is minutes of the planning committee. Notes of the minutes of the planning committee held on the 15th of March 2023. Consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere in this agenda. So we'll be happy to note.
Propose noting the minutes.
Yeah, any? Is that seconded?
Seconded.
All those in favour?
Did you need our names at all, Jill? If you don't know us at all.
I'm going to say, I know Councillor Carter and Councillor Morehouse. Thank you.
Just trying to help.
Thank you.
So all those in favour of noting the minutes, are there any matters arising from the minutes? No? Okay, so happy to move on. Next item is item 5, public participation. A 15-minute session is set aside for members of the public to make representations in respect of business on the agenda. Do we have any public representations?
No requests.
No requests. Okay. Next item is planning applications. Item 6, applications, plans and papers can be viewed via the Dover District Council website. The first one is reference 23/00365, Sir Roger Manwood School, Manwood Road, Sandwich, CT139JX. Proposal is variation of condition 2 on the approved plans to vary sports pitch design of Planning Permission 21/01314, section 73. Construction of a sports pitch, erection of a 2-storey pavilion, new vehicle access, additional 20 car parking spaces, fencing, lighting, drainage and ancillary works. Everyone's seen the plans on this, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Any comments, Councillor Carter?
Propose acceptance of variation of condition 2. This is something that I think the council has previously agreed on and recommended, and it's just a slight variation to what was originally proposed. So this is very essential for the school to build on its strong sporting ability and take it forward. So we should support this educational promotion with both hands, I should say.
So your motion is to strongly support this?
Strongly support this
Seconded
variation.
All those in favour? That's unanimous.
Thank you. Sorry, who was the seconder?
Councillor
Councillor Morehouse.
Morehouse.
Thank you very much.
The next one is reference 23/00388, also at Sir Roger Manwood School, Manwood Road, Sandwich, CT139JX. Proposal is the creation of a footpath alongside the school playing fields. This is in order to reach the new facility with a macadam path being laid. Any comments on this?
Yeah, I think we should approve it.
So
Propose approval of this application.
and it's seconded for that? Seconded by Councillor Penn. All those in favour?
Can I also just note, if the clerk could note, that the tree warden did, there was tree reports for both these applications, and that they should be taken into consideration
Yes.
for both of these, the tree reports for those,
Is
so
that
they weren't detrimental.
Okay. Next one is reference 23/00449. Location is the Marketplace Surgery, Cattle Market, Sandwich, CT139ET. Variation of condition 2, operational times to allow amendments of the planning permission DOV/17/01427 application under section 73 for the installation of a heat recovery unit with acoustic enclosure to rear elevation, amended plans. And as I understand it, this is to change the operating times of this unit to begin, I think, at 6 AM in the morning and between 8 and 1:30 on Saturdays. Any comments on this?
It was a public comment, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's one public comment about
The noise.
the thing starting at
Yeah.
5 AM previously.
Yeah.
Carter.
No, I wanted to propose that this goes ahead. I know there's considerations of noise and things like that, but it has got special acoustic enclosure to reduce the noise considerably there. And if you read through all the
Yeah, I did.
appertaining letters as well,
Yeah.
Dr. Ben Drew said this is of critical importance for the patient care,
Yeah.
and you know, we've now let them build this new unit. They've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds to put in this new unit. If we now sort of stop them having the climate change control that is needed for the patients, then it could ruin everything. So I propose approval of this application.
Yeah, just to carry on from Councillor Carter's point of view, it's critical that we allow this variation to go through. If we were to restrict the operation times of this, it would seriously undermine the operating capacity of the new medical practice, and Sandwich residents would suffer for that. We've got an extended GP provision that will allow additional services to come in, and to then say we'll put in measures to stop that from happening seems madness. So
I don't think.
Sorry, thank you. I do think the noise nuisance can be exaggerated because actually when you hear it together with all the background noise, I have one of these machines and it's really not very intrusive, so I think it won't essentially affect the noise conditions surrounding the place. And I was in there today, it's lovely, the new station.
And there's only one resident comment on the.
I'd say that the ambient noise of the traffic on Moatsole and the car park behind it is significantly more than what this unit would be.
Okay, so we have a proposal, we strongly support this.
Support this.
Councillor Carter, and seconded from Councillor Morehouse. All those in favour? That's agreed. The next one is application for comment as a third party, as we are not formal consultees on this because it's outside our area. Reference 22/01158. The next one, 22/00245, is the Ash Solar Park, so we won't discuss this one at this meeting. Its location, Betsanger Country Park. I'm not going to read out all of this because you can read it for yourself, I hope. It's basically a surf pool, it's cafe, restaurant, overnight pods, etc., etc. It's a major development at Betsanger Country Park. And if you recall at the last council meeting, some of the campaigners against this scheme spoke to us, and we said we would put it on this agenda and just comment as a consultee, not as a statutory consultee, but as a third party, because it affects Sandwich in terms of traffic, amenity, possibly wildlife, etc. So,
I think it'd be quite helpful if you, Chair, read out all the documents associated with the plan.
yes, it's about 1,400 documents. I think that there is quite a split on support and objections, although the objections tend to be more comprehensive than support. So, Councillor Carter, to begin.
I think this, as you said quite rightly, Chair, this is outside our remit as a council, so we shouldn't actually be commenting on it at all. Also, there's an awful lot of personal preference. You know, on one hand, some people might encourage the development because it brings tourism. On the other hand, if you've got green or ecological routes, then you'd be against the thing. So I think we shouldn't really comment on it at all. But if anybody in this room wants to make their own personal objection to it, then they should log on to the Dover District Council's website and either object or support the application, I should say.
Presumably Sandwich Town Council as making a consultation comment would have no greater weight than an individual.
No, it wouldn't, that's correct. And this, they've made it very clear, you're not formal consultees because it's not within your boundaries. So you are commenting as a third party, which, as you say, has no more weight than a resident.
We have commented on neighbouring projects before, like the big mast that were going up at the power station. So I think it's right to comment if people want to comment, because I think, I think it's against what it was originally designed for wildlife habitat, wasn't turtle doves and different things, and they're going to trash it, aren't they? I mean, they've already spent £80 million worth of grants there, haven't they? And I think it's all wrong, personally. So I think we could comment and just say that we're against the development.
I tend to agree. In terms of the wildlife, destroying the original purpose of the park, traffic, mitigation issues. Any other comments?
I think there may be cases where so much as a town would have a sort of corporate interest in a development in a nearby area. I would only see that with difficulty in the present case, I think. So I tend to go along with Councillor Carter's approach.
Yeah, but I was going to say, we did comment on the solar farm in Marchbury, didn't we, as well? Which were, so they were right next to us. So we do comment on neighbouring parishes.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Councillor Moore.
The representatives against this proposal came and spoke to us.
That's right.
Did pledge that we would respond and put this on our agenda and comment. I think that's only right that we should do.
Oh yeah, can I just point out to Councillor Morehouse that it's a public participation session, so somebody could come up from Devon and they can talk about something if they wanted to. So sorry, not to trash your argument, but it's we can invite anybody along. That's wanted. It's public participation.
That's the idea.
The only comment I have is obviously we've heard representations from the group that are against it. I think if Sandwich Town Council were going to make a corporate response for the application, it's fair and equitable if we gave it its proper significance and had it discussed separately, where we had both sides of the argument presented in a way that we could make an informed decision.
I agree.
John and June, do you have any comments?
Well, I'm still quite new to this, but why is it on the agenda if we're not invited to comment?
Because we pledged that we would put it on the agenda.
Because you can comment on applications that are in neighbouring parishes where it might have an impact on the town. There's people in this town who go to the country park and might enjoy the wildlife and the lizard orchids and the turtle doves and the open space, and they don't want it being, and they're worried about driving to Deal.
I understand all that, I just didn't understand why Councillor Carter was saying we shouldn't comment, and yet it's on the agenda. So do you have to vote as to whether you're going to comment on it or not? I don't know.
It's on the agenda because when the people came to the council meeting, we said we would consider it. We were being
And I
courteous.
was saying no.
That's only Councillor Carter, but you might have the majority, might you?
Well, I have my own personal feelings about this, and as has been pointed out, I can contact Dover District Council and say what I want to say to them. Really, discussing things here, there's all these things, there's pros and cons, but these particular developers seem to not only this lot, but people seem to be stomping about all over the countryside doing things, and there's never any infrastructure put in that I can see or anything else, which is why basically we're having all these problems with sewage and all the rest of it. But nobody's, they should presumably be made to pay for upgrading all this stuff. Because what a lot of, having been in the construction industry myself, I know a lot of these people will move in, they will do these things, 6 months later they'll change their name slightly to something else, shut the company down and clear off. And there's no redress or anything else in the future. So they go, well, they don't exist anymore. Which is, I don't know, somewhat sneaky, I think. But as I said, it happens in business, isn't it? It happens all the time. And we have got an opportunity personally to complain about it if we wish. I think it would be a great shame to lose what's been achieved down there already. But, and I also do worry about the road. I don't think that's really adequate for, you know, presumably hundreds of people that they'll need to attract and to make this.
Well, the development on the other side of the road of 150 homes, I think, has just been agreed.
Yeah.
And there were concerns raised about that development and the traffic on that, you know, the roundabout where the minor.
Having said that, I went down to have a look at the Mining Museum when it opened, and I was very, very surprised about the care that had been taken with the building, and I thought it was a real addition to things. So, you know, it's
Yeah, no, just a point for Mrs. Summerhays that most of the applications that we discuss are because we're the statutory consultee for the boundary of Sandwich and Woodensborough, but as we can comment on any other application that comes in the district, it just has the same weighting as an individual's response. But if members decide that they think it's of relevance to Sandwich residents, then they can request it be added to the agenda. But the determination could be that they feel it's not right for us to comment under the circumstances and we decide not to.
Well, I think going forward we have three options because we have a split on the committee, so we can either do nothing and not make any decision on this and just comment individually, which might have more weight if there are councillors commenting. We can pass a motion either for or against it, supporting or opposing it, or we can suggest it goes to the full council for a discussion which might give a more comprehensive view. So what do you think?
Yeah, making another suggestion, if the committee's minded not to make a determination because they feel individual representations are better, it may be that Councillor Carter wants to amend that Sandwich Town Council does a bit more publicity on our website and social media to highlight this application to the residents of Sandwich to encourage representations from them as well.
Yeah, I was just going to add to Councillor Friend, it was the initial inquiry about this planning application came to me from people in Deal, and they asked me if it was possible to get it onto the Sandwich Town Council agenda, which I did as a public participation matter to get it publicised so that the people in the Sandwich district area would know about it. So I've undertaken what I said I'd do, and I think that's what we've done. And as Councillor Friend has said, we are assisting to make this public knowledge so that the public can vote how they wish and log on to Dover District Council. But I just don't see the point of Sandwich Town Council making a vote this evening and sending in one vote from all of us, whereas individually we could have however number, 8 of us that are here voting on it individually. So, but it's personal choice, I guess.
I think it's only right that we notify the people that came and spoke what our plan is, that we haven't made a decision to vote
Yeah.
in favour or.
Well, I was just going to make a point that in the planning committee previously, items like this that were fairly substantial and weighty, they'd be called in almost to full council for all 16 representations. So if the group were minded that they were going to go towards a decision of making representations, it probably would be better to refer it back to full council to get the views of full council.
Do you know what the deadline is?
So from what I've been told, the deadline has passed. They were willing to accept. They were willing to accept the comments from the town council. I don't know if it would be an option really to defer any longer. I think because I did ask the planning officer if they'd be prepared to accept.
Also, I think if you were to refer it to full council, you would have to take up Councillor Friend's suggestion and get both sides of the argument along. Otherwise, it would be seen as being biased towards just one option.
So my position is I feel uncomfortable about this committee making a decision because we have full delegated powers. We're then making that decision on behalf of the council. It's clearly not something I feel that we can make we cannot make such a decision because it's contentious. Given that the deadline has gone,
Yeah.
we can't defer it to the full council next May. So my view is that we agree that it should be publicised and that both councillors and members of the public be encouraged to make submissions according to their own views on the matter.
I was asking myself what avenues are actually open for us to publicise it, because I do think simply to publicise the facts of the case and let people make their own minds up is the only sort of
Maybe,
defensible way we can go ahead.
maybe the acting town clerk could draft a press release to that effect, urging people to, which we can then share. Is that agreeable as a way forward?
Well, presumably, if the deadline's passed, it's too late for anybody else to comment individually, so that's irrelevant. Why is it so late onto the agenda if the deadline's passed?
I think because no one's previously flagged it to us. I mean, I know it's been in the press a lot.
Right, no, that's a fair comment, I just wondered.
The application's been out for a while, but because we're not a statutory consultee, we wouldn't have been formally asked by DDC for our representations. It was because of the public speaking that we then opted to make a submission. The next DDC Planning Committee is not going to be till the end of May, so in terms of the deadline being passed, I imagine they would be reasonable, seeing as there's 5-6 weeks before the next planning meeting.
I'd like to second your proposal, Chair, what you said earlier, but can it include Councillor Morehouse's option to notify the two public speakers? I think it's Adrian and Sue Sullivan, if my memory reminds me correctly, that came in. So that they're aware of the decision that this committee's made.
So the deadline has passed, so it's no use us publicising the fact because people can't comment anyway. Is that correct?
Yes.
So are we agreeing then that we make no decision on this as a planning committee?
That's correct.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's correct.
Anyone to second that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All those in favour? Reluctantly.
Thank you.
Happy with that? Okay, planning decisions. To receive and note the latest decisions taken by Dover District Council on new planning application. Sorry, just going back to that previous one at the top there, the Ash Solar Farm. If you remember, they also came to the last council meeting. That was for a scoping environmental impact assessment, and that deadline has passed. So there will at some future date be a formal full planning application for that. But we can then ask for that to come to this committee in good time, hopefully.
Proposed noting.
Planning decisions, Councillor Carter proposed noting.
Proposed noting of planning decisions.
By Councillor Roberts. All those in favour? So they're all noted. The next item is street furniture applications. To receive and consider any applications made to DDC in relation to a street furniture consent application under the Local Government Act of 1982. So we've received an application to place tables and chairs on the highway at the location detailed below. 3 tables and 6 chairs from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, Monday to Sunday at the Toll Bridge, 7 Fisherman's Wharf, Sandwich, CT13 9RU. And this is the horse box thing, is it, across the river?
No, this is the Toll Bridge.
Toll Bridge
This is the Toll Bridge
Restaurant.
restaurant. So.
Yeah. So any comments on this?
As long as they stick to 2 chairs per table, so it doesn't obstruct the.
There are often groups of people standing around there that do tend to block the.
Yes, standing's one thing, people sitting
Propose approval of this application.
Yeah.
On it's a very interesting area, as you say, that's now becoming quite popular with tourists and visitors and residents alike. So that area has now gone from anybody that was resident here sort of 10 years ago, from just being a windy corner of the pub to a very popular sunny drinking spot after work in the summer. So I think we should promote it, and as long as the walkway is kept clear alongside the quay, then that would be adequate.
The tables outside the Crispin are limited to 2 chairs per table.
Exactly.
So they should do follow uniformity.
The trouble is, though, very often someone gets
Yeah, just in terms of the Crispin and the toll bridge, they are fastidious in enforcing the 2 chairs per table rule, and I've personally seen them, have some stern words with those trying to accommodate more chairs and single tables, and they're very good on keeping it.
That's what I was just going to say. They tend to put back, don't they?
I think that firstly, this is an area that is likely to develop, and secondly, it's something that broadly we should encourage, but I think it might be an idea if we could think ahead as to what areas can be used for outside dining or whatever, and what are no-nos. I was asked last night by the guy who runs the Bella Amalfi, because apparently there's a proposal that they might have tables on a pavement which is about that broad. I mean, it would be nice, but I think we do have to take pedestrian safety and road safety into consideration.
I think they're planning to put tables on the church garden.
Yeah, just to point out that although it'd be good to plan some of these areas that we consider would be acceptable for this type of hospitality and street furniture type, it may be ill-advised, because like all of these types of things that come under planning, they all have to be judged on their merits, and if we did identify areas that we thought were suitable, were not suitable, we would potentially leave ourselves open to predetermination claims. So as much as I appreciate the sentiment and the ambitions behind it, it's probably not a good idea.
But the horse box thing across the river is being reopened, isn't it?
Yes.
And there's planning permission for a hotel where the single building is across the other side. So it will become busier.
Well, we already have a situation where goats that dance has sort of expanded onto the church. We've got people wandering backwards and forwards with coffee. Then we're going to have people wandering over, presumably with drinks and meals, I would assume, from Bellarmine onto the other side of the churchyard. Then we've got people at the end here who want to come across the road and put tables and chairs out here on the new area. And we all know where we are. It's very difficult once you've allowed somebody to do something to then say to other people, you can't do it. It's like kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, we might be get a bit of a rod for our own backs for the future. That's just my feelings. And I realise, we've got to have tourists, and we've got to be able to accommodate them, and we've got to make the place welcoming.
I mean, the Highways Authority always say they won't do anything until accidents happen. So maybe when a waiter is knocked down with something like that.
I did manage to get across Catton Market tonight without being mowed down by people swinging around a bus on the corner. I couldn't see through it.
So we're supporting this application subject to chairs per table.
That's it, obviously in the Crispin.
Yeah. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
I'll propose that.
You
I
propose
proposed it. Oh, I
Councillor.
actually proposed
Oh,
it.
you're Councillor Carter.
Councillor
Proposed
Carter.
it about half an hour ago.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
All those in favour? Right, let's
So
move on.
long, this is stressful.
Let's move on. Number 9 is licensing, to consider any licensing notices and issues received from Dover District Council. No?
Just on that, the quayside kitchen that we were just talking about that's reopening,
Oh yeah.
did that come to full? I can't remember if it came to the last council meeting.
think we did discuss it.
We did, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's going to DDC licensing at the end of this month, so.
Well, we voted for it.
We voted
We
for
voted
it.
for it, yeah.
Number 10 is enforcement. To consider any enforcement notices and issues received from Dover District Council. Anything?
What's that about
Just
the
that
marina?
statement,
Yeah,
haven't you,
yeah. To discuss the marina that has been installed at the old port of Richborough and whether formal permission has been sought and received by DDC. I've had an item of correspondence from Councillor Gray which I've circulated, and I'll read that out if you're happy with it for the benefit of viewers. Statement by Councillor Nicholas Gray regarding the new marina at Richborough Quay. You might be aware that there's been some discussion of this on social media and for and against and so on, so it's worth noting that Councillor Gray has been to see this development. So he says, over the weekend I met Carl Davis and his wife, two of the directors of Coastal Marina Limited, the company establishing the new pontoon-based berths at Richborough on the old World War II Richborough Quay. It is a bit too grand to call it a marina just yet, although the company has got some major plans for the future. I was very impressed with what the company has done in a short time to create pontoon berths on the river, along with parking, boat storage and toilet facilities ashore. They seem genuine and knowledgeable, Carl Davis having worked at the Sandwich Marina for several years. The company is approaching DDC's planning department to see if they need planning permission for this development. There is some question as to whether their activities are already covered by the existing planning permission on the site, which has been used for years for the berthing of commercial vessels, latterly tankers offloading or emulsion for the old power station and the landing of aggregates. They are now also, on my advice, approaching the Marine Management Organisation to see if they need a licence for their works. The MMO controls all works on waters around the UK below the high tide level. They may already be covered by an existing MMO licence on the whole of the old Richborough Wharf. This part of the river is not owned by the Crown Estate, so no licence is required from them. Environmentally, this development is outside the Sandwich and Pegwell Bay Nature Reserve, the Sandwich Bay Site of Special Scientific Interest, SSSI, and the Sandwich Bay Special Area of Conservation, SAC, and the environmental impact of pleasure craft mooring where oil tankers and commercial shipping used to moor is going to be minimal. If an environmental impact assessment is required by either DDC or the MMO, the company would be happy to comply. They have already obtained all necessary permissions from the Sandwich Port and Haven Commission for the laying of their pontoons in the river. I think the company should be encouraged, not hassled as is happening now, as this is a very useful and much needed addition to mooring facilities on the river, and I believe the company is keen to carry out any development sympathetically, bearing in mind the sensitive area of this site. The company would welcome a site visit from councillors, should you wish to see the site for yourselves.
Yeah, I'm sure Councillor Carter will agree with me that, you know, until such time a planning application comes in, I'd caution members not to visit or make opinions or statements either for or against, because predetermination is most definitely a thing in terms of planning and
I mean, you can visit and just on a fact-finding basis.
but public letters of support are probably advised.
Okay. So shall we just note that
I was going to suggest just note the fact
and await a
that
formal
this is
planning application
waivers, councillor
should one be
Friend
I
required?
don't think you have to worry because it's all looked after by the Portland Haven Committee, isn't it? You know,
Commission.
and the commissioners, so if they're happy with it, and we did have quite big large freighters going in with that rubber sheet or emulsion, so I think it's quite good, and it brings people in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bring visiting those sorts of tourism.
we encourage councillors not to sort of respond to any
No.
social media
No,
as
no.
well, because that could be
We'll
taken
just,
into
just put it on the
consideration.
back burner and
So yeah, just
Keep the calendar dry.
Okay, so we note that
note.
statement, thank you. Item 11, correspondence. To receive and consider correspondence relating to planning matters, including notification of appeals against refusal of planning applications. Okay. 12 is verbal update from our Dover District Council on matters relating to planning.
I've only got a couple of items. There are a couple couple of enforcement issues outstanding. One being the access road to the Kumar Nursery. For those of us members that have been here a while will share our frustrations of how that went through. Predetermination was the critical issue there for us
It
as
was
well.
indeed.
So yeah, there are some issues with aggregate being stored on the roadway on the entrance. Whether that comes to a breach of planning will be determined as to whether the road has been adopted by KCC yet or whether they consider it still private land. And there's an issue with a tree on the same development that's now had a TPO placed on it, so that huge beautiful walnut tree will be saved there. And the only other one I've got is from Wayfarers. The change of use planning application was agreed by Doe District Council, which was earlier on in the agenda. They have now submitted planning application in terms of carving up the internal areas to account for the individual living accommodations. That'll come before us in due time, but welcome addition.
Do we know who the applicant is for that provision? Who will actually provide the supported housing?
I can come back to you on that. There was a couple of different companies that were looking into it, and I'm not sure which one was successful.
And the KCC selling it or leasing it?
It's disposing.
They're selling it. Okay, thank you. 13, date next planning committee to be confirmed.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for coming.